So you guys clearly are a unicorn here. It's very unique. You specialize in one thing. You've grown to be one of the largest practices in the country, if not the largest. You've sold and so forth. You must have some secret sauce. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Technology of Beauty, where I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business. And today is no exception. Today we have Jessica and Melissa. What's your last name, man? What do you say?
Stellwagen.
Stellwagen. Tough one for me. Stellwagen. They are the founders of Bodify. And you're going to hear today about Bodify, a very unique approach in the aesthetics business. So stay tuned. Now, welcome. Where'd you fly in from?
All
Phoenix.
the way from Arizona, really tough and far.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
And this is the first time I've met you. And I'd like to first get to know you a little bit before we get to Bodify. So why don't you take the lead?
Perfect. I'm Jessica. If you are not sure, I'm the younger sister. I always have to use that disclaimer because we're very close in age. But my sister and I just from an early age knew that we wanted to run a business together. We've always been joined at the hip, and nothing really spoke to both of our hearts very easily until we ran into an idea and a technology, and Melissa can go more into that, but that was really the impetus for the genesis of Bodify.
Okay, and where did you grow up?
Steamboat, Colorado. So as sisters, we grew up skiing in the cold, -30, with parents that were entrepreneurs. We loved it.
Okay, and you obviously grew up the same place.
Yeah, we grew up together.
And did you go to the same high school?
Yeah, we went to the same. I mean, literally, my class was 100 people, so it's a tiny little town. Couldn't wait to get out of there. It's beautiful, but needed something bigger.
Okay, how about college?
I went to ASU, just went to Santa Clara.
Okay, so at that point you separated, if you will.
Yes.
Santa Clara, ASU.
Yep. Go Devils.
What? Yeah,
Go
right.
Devils.
Okay, so let's do Santa Clara. So what was your major?
Marketing and Spanish. But don't speak to me in Spanish because that didn't
¿Por
go
qué
well.
no? Oh.
Porque no.
No puedes hablar español, huh? And how about you?
I was a biochem major.
Biochem.
Yeah, I wanted to
Wow.
go to med school, but I moved out here to California and fell in love with golf and working for the Four Seasons Hotel in Newport Beach.
After
After I graduated,
Okay, so
ASU, I moved
and
to California.
what was your major when you graduated?
Biochem.
Whoa! And so you came here and worked for the Four Seasons.
Yeah, I was
Parents
a beverage
loved
cart
that.
girl at Pelican Hill Golf Course, and I was
Yeah.
like, why am I going to go to med school? I'm making a bunch of money every day, cash tips, and I ended up actually when the Pelican Hill closed, I started my own concierge business. So I was helping people, residents in the area of Newport Coast, with personal shopping, event planning, travel, and actually eventually plastic surgery recovery in their own homes.
Okay. Any other training? You're not a nurse, though,
No,
right?
Not a nurse.
And you're not either. Okay. Then when did you guys get back together?
Yeah, so I
Oh,
had
wait, what'd you do after at Santa Clara?
the blur, nothing important.
Okay.
I loved Santa Clara, go Steve Nash, right?
Yep.
No, it was a phenomenal experience. It was small and exactly what I needed, but I feel like I was a little bit of a fish out of water, didn't really have a clear direction, found myself in Arizona, ended up buying a business coaching franchise, ended up working for a gentleman who helped attorneys build their law firms
Okay.
through marketing, and those were just some really great foundational pieces as mentors. So when we eventually went out on our own, I think we had a really clear vision of what we were going to do and how we were going to do it.
Did you get together physically also? Did you come to the same town? I mean, you're
Yeah.
in Newport. We were in Tucson or Phoenix?
I was Phoenix at that point, yeah.
Yeah, our uncle is actually a physician and was one of the very first people in Arizona to buy Coolsculpting in 2011.
Okay.
And he asked me if I wanted to come learn how to do it, run his practice, start a medical spa, and I did, and I completely fell in love with it. And I always tried to get her on board with me because we knew we wanted to be in business together, and she had like more of the business marketing sales mind, and I loved the clinical side.
Okay.
And 4 years later, she finally joined me.
And where did you start? What city did you start Bodify?
Phoenix.
So it was.
So
You
Arizona.
didn't have to move. It was in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And you started with your first Coolsculpting machine, correct? Was it one machine or more than one initially?
We got two.
Okay, your first purchase was two. Were they the Coolsculpting Advantages?
Yep.
No, it was
Actually, it was
parallel
The one before
parallel
the-
plates.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Silver Fox.
And
I
what year
believe.
was that?
2011 I started doing Coolsculpting. We started Bodify in 2015 after we tried to buy my uncle's practice.
You tried to buy the whole practice?
The
Well, he had
medical spa
aesthetics
side of
piece.
it, yeah.
Is he a plastic surgeon or
No.
derm
It's
or?
actually addiction. So it was quite interesting. He had this little offshoot of the, medical
And it was the aesthetic
and
part.
aesthetics. And so if you can imagine my sister bringing in people, sitting them next to heroin addicts and people on Suboxone and Subutex and alcohol addiction. And we're like, if she can make it work here, she can make it work anywhere.
That was
Okay.
interesting.
Wild ride.
Now, were you the provider?
Yes,
were you
I
the
was.
cool sculptress?
Yeah,
as I
in
name it?
Arizona, you didn't have to be a nurse to do
I
it.
am very familiar with
Yeah.
that. So you must have gone to Coolsculpting University.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Thanks
loved
to
it.
you, right?
Yeah, well, and Aaron, Aaron Stevens now, Aaron Morrison. there.
Congrats.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Let's see. This is kind of tough for me to follow, but we're just warming up. So now you have two of the dual plate machines. Did you buy your uncle's place or no? You didn't buy it.
So he, unlike some doctors that are in our presence right now, even though he's amazing at being a doctor, he wasn't a great businessman.
Okay.
So he probably should have taken our offer. My sister did everything. She created the experience. I mean, she just had a phenomenal team, systems, and processes, and he just wasn't interested in our offer. But he had an amazing heart, and he said, girls, there's enough fat to freeze for us all to win. Don't take my database, but go out there and do your own thing. So we did.
Okay. So you build your first, or you get your first office.
Yep.
And you have two cool sculpting machines, and you're the business behind it, and you're the provider in the clinical. That's sort of how the jobs got divided.
Yeah, it was originally how it was. Now we both kind of do everything.
Yeah, of
but
course. I'm trying to go to the beginning of
Yeah.
time. Okay. Did you know when you first built Bodify that you were going to come at it this way, the way you have, which we're going to get to in a minute? Did you have that goal right from the get-go? Was that part of your business plan on day one?
I think it was for a few reasons. First and foremost, I had a mentor, and he always said niches lead to riches, right? Like, why would you be the jack of all trades when you can be the very best at one thing? And I think that really spoke to our hearts, and we're like, hey, we can do that. But then secondarily, it was a function of money. We went out and raised money, but we didn't raise $1 million, and machines cost a lot of money. And so to have a multi-modality practice wasn't going to make financial sense because we knew we needed a long runway and still having dollars in our bank in order to start building that momentum. And if we spent it all on machines, then we could be dead in the water very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Smart girls.
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. You open up. You have a grand opening, I'm sure.
Yes, we did.
And,
We cried.
And patient
Yeah.
one.
We cried at the grand
No,
opening.
we high-fived and said, if we could just do this every day, we could make this much money. And it was a joke. but
So
yeah.
why don't you tell the watchers and the listeners just what the concept was and explain to them the uniqueness of it without getting into marketing yet? Just first of all, what was your mission? What did you provide? What was the service you provided? And tell them about the exclusivity.
Yeah, I think, for us, something that was really, really important is just to have an incredible experience. People have always asked us, did you want to build a cool sculpting empire? And you wanted to make the most money. And that was never on our hearts. It was always we wanted to be the best, the most reputable, and like just the most astounding at what we did. And I think that really drove every decision that we made. And that ended up being in parallel with also being extremely profitable and making a lot of money. So it was a really fun journey. But I think initially it was just we wanted to be the best and we wanted to transform people's bodies because good, bad, right, or wrong, how you feel in your skin impacts every interaction you have. And some people might say it's vain, but my dogs have a shitty walk if my jeans are tight. And if my jeans are loose, they have a better walk because it impacts every fiber in our being. And we don't like how we feel in our skin. And fat is full of shame. And people want to minimize their fat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you start, and Demi, remind me, it was 2015, is that what you said? Okay. So you open the practice. Is it just the two of you initially?
Yeah, we had one other person with us.
Okay. So there you go. And now how did you start getting patients?
I mean, we hustled. We would do the fake it till you make it.
She loves this job.
We would have 2 consults for the whole week, and we'd make sure that they were right next to each other, like one right after the other. And then I'd be in the consultation trying to sell, and Jess would be on the phone calling the office so it sounded like we were busy. Oh, hello, welcome back. She was just totally faking it that we were super busy, and eventually it just grew and grew. But going back to, Jess was saying we didn't have extra money to buy more machines is because we were throwing that into marketing. I mean, from the get-go, and really kind of following your lead, you were on billboards, you were on radio, you were on TV, all those things. We knew we had to do those things. So we're spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month marketing. And I mean, we were profitable month 1, month 2. I mean, we paid off our machines in less than a year, bought our third machine, and just
Kept going.
It grew really quickly.
Okay. Did you change locations?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we built out for the future. We said if we have to live here because this goes under, at least it's nice. We have 2,000 square feet in the
Do you
bathroom.
own the building?
We wish.
Oh, when you said live there, I thought you owned the building.
We would
Okay.
have squatters, technically, if we did, but
Okay. So before we get to now, I love the story of the development. So early on when you had 2 machines, when did you add your 4th employee?
so it was actually probably not until about year 2.
Okay. So lean and mean, spending
Yeah.
a lot on marketing. What digital marketing did you do?
Gosh, everything.
Everything?
Yeah. And we didn't have a ton of success with, PPC and some Facebook and Instagram ads early on. You obviously have to find the right partner, and that was a constant evolution. But we hit the ground running. Again, because my mentor helped attorneys build their practices, it
Right.
became very clear to me how to generate leads. But I think the missing piece for a ton of people is they don't nurture the leads. We can obviously chat about that later, but
Yes.
we always laugh when people are like, I get 10,000 people to my website a day. It's like, I don't care. Like, how many people gave you their information that now you can follow up with? Like, that's all that matters.
Did you start a website at that point? And what was it called?
Thebodify.com.
Okay.
So yeah, we actually had a local California company build it, and I think because they had some pretty notable doctors and surgeons that they had built websites for, so I think we did one thing that was pretty unique, and they pushed back a ton when we asked them to do it, but it was something that definitely made a big difference for us.
They push back, even though they're in the business of building websites.
Yeah, they said it wasn't going to work and it wasn't a good idea, and we just knew that it was.
And what she's referring to is that we put gated content for before and after photos.
Okay.
We're not going to show any before and after photos unless you gave us your name, your number, and your email. That way we could proactively reach out to you.
Okay, so that's how you built your mailing list.
Yeah.
Okay. And we all know consumers, patients, clients, whatever you want to call them, they love the before and after pictures.
Yes.
100%.
So that's what you used as the payoff or the hook to
We
get
put
that
a
information.
couple
from
little
them.
teasers out there, and we just gave them a reason why we were doing it. We don't want to splash our patients' photos all over the internet, and once you fill this out, then we'll just give you a private link, and then you can see everything.
Interesting strategy. I'm not aware of that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. So then it's now 2016, 17, 18. How many machines do you have at that point before, let's say, not now.
Yeah.
We're going to get to now, but
So
when
it's-
did you get your 4th machine?
So it's been interesting, and a lot of people will come into our practice and they'll be like, wait, how much money do you do a year? Like, you have 3 employees at this point and 2 machines. Each office still only has 2 machines
Okay, you have 2
But-
offices?
at this point, but back then, I think we
We had 5 Coolsculpting machines, the legacy machines at that point.
at one
Right.
point.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
as you know, it's a very profitable business, and you don't have to have a million people coming through your doors. And we love simplicity, and we've always thought, focus, money flows where the focus goes. Have that singular focus, be the best that you can be, and that will just allow you to do what you need to do. And I think, have proven that really well. It's not the only model that works, but it's been an outstanding model for us.
Okay. When did you open your second store?
2019.
And you put a couple machines there?
Yep.
So 2 and 2 or 2 and 3?
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
and 3, I think.
And then you must have got the new Coolsculpting, the Elites,
Yeah,
right?
we were part of the assessment program, so it was great. We had it for, I think, similar
Yeah.
to
Yeah, we
you,
worked
Right.
3, 4, or 5 months before, and we just were seeing faster and better results. And
There
we're
you
like,
go.
yes, we need
Faster
this.
and better, right?
Yeah.
And you were around when we started treatment to transformation, certainly.
Yes,
I called it
absolutely.
comprehensive contouring, and Aaron named it treatment to transformation. And then about a couple of years ago, we really started recognizing we already knew it. I know you must have known it, that people that have 2 or more sessions in the same area are much happier. Turns out they're 3 times happier statistically than people that have just 1. But the problem was early on in Zeltique, we used to constantly say it was one and done.
Yeah, and one across the middle.
And there's still people out there who believe it's one and done.
Yeah.
So we're trying to change that paradigm, right, to it takes 2,
100%.
baby. And so we're trying to switch from one and done to it takes 2. And I'm sure you guys have been doing that. You probably do that with everybody. I went through a phase once where I wouldn't sign anyone up unless they signed up for 2. Have you ever thought about that, or do you do that?
And we absolutely, their transformation takes over a place over a minimum of 2 office visits, and 100%. We have lots of little analogies that we can make if someone says, can I start with 1? But at the end of the day, someone's results inevitably is our reputation. And so it is unprofessional and it is unethical to for us to allow someone to do one treatment because we know they're going to be underwhelmed. And I think once we had that mentality and we were able to infiltrate our team and they had that same belief, it was like, no, we're not trying to get into your wallet, but you don't need to get to negotiate your treatment plan. It is not negotiable if you want a great outcome. And so I think that's been a pretty easy transition for us.
Yeah,
so do you only allow 2 or more?
Yeah. Right now it's like our minimum packages, except for a few areas, are 3 treatment sessions.
3 treatment sessions. Did you ever go through a period of time, or are you now, where you stack them simultaneously like Jennifer Harrington does?
We did try it. It was okay. Did you try it?
I never did.
Yeah.
Jennifer still does it. And I love her to death.
Yeah.
But no, I never did. I mean, maybe at one point we had 6 or 8 cool sculptresses, so they may have slipped one in without telling me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't micromanage
I just didn't think
it.
the juice was worth the squeeze on
There
that one
you
when I
go.
would see it.
And there were more pH cases with those stacked ones, so which is outside the scope of this talk, but our program. Okay, so then you're growing and growing and growing, and you have 2 offices. You only do cool sculpting. You must have been tempted, or someone must have tried to get you to start doing injectables.
Injectables, other devices. We
Yeah,
just always
other devices.
jokingly said, like, we are lazy by nature, and it complicates things. I mean, we have a lot of people that will come and do site visits from other practices and try and learn best practices from us, and they're just like, oh my gosh, this is so simple and this is so smart. Like, your life is so much easier. And so that really shied us away from
bringing other things on.
Yeah.
And I think, we have a network and we have people that we refer to, and all of a sudden an injector who is now nervous that I might steal her injectable patients is no longer going to feel comfortable sending me a cool sculpting prospect.
Good point.
And so for us, it was really easy to say, hey, send people our way and we're just going to enhance your name and we're going to give them a great result and they're going to feel like you're a rock star for sending them our way, but we're certainly not going to try and poach your business. And I just think in the aesthetic world, that's something that does happen, and particularly people who are really like their client base, they're nervous about that. And
Sure.
so it's like, hey, how can we protect that and get them to just send us referrals?
Do you happen to have, when you're in Arizona, do you have to have a physician supervisor?
So we have a medical director, of course, but in terms of he or she having to be at the practice, sign off on anything, no. I mean, Arizona was a godsend in terms of us deciding to open there versus some other states for sure.
Absolutely, because you could never do that in California, for
No.
instance. Okay. How did COVID affect your practice?
Yeah, I mean, it sucked. We shut down for 7 weeks. We kept all our staff on. We paid them. It was great. We sent out thank you letters to everybody and check-in cards. That was just our thing, is everybody's writing thank you notes to all of our patients. How are you doing? Thinking about you. Hope you're well. But once we opened back up, I mean, we saw a huge surge. I mean, Arizona, COVID was not happening, so.
Right, COVID didn't make it into Arizona.
No, didn't get the memo.
So you reopened after 7 weeks.
Yep.
And then you had a spike?
Yeah, I mean, all the way through 2021? It was crazy.
And then did it tend to level off?
It leveled off last year for sure.
Yeah, that's what everyone saw around the country.
Yeah.
And how is it going now?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've always said if you just trust that you continue to do the same things over and over again in the right ways for the right people, things will work out. And I think that's outside of us saying our sisterhood and our sister relationship is the most important. That has been our North Star, and we certainly have ups and downs, but I just trust regardless of what happens in the economy and what people are saying, it's if we continue to be who we are, the number of people who want non-invasive fat reduction is not going away, right? And it's not shrinking.
Have you ever heard me present?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard
Not
me do
in person, but.
No, I mean in person, yeah. So I always would say to groups from hundreds to thousands, raise your hand if you don't have an inch of fat you'd like to get rid of.
100%.
Yeah.
And every now and then you get somebody.
Someone who's curmudgeonous and is like, I'm not raising my hand.
And then I would say, okay, now, thank you very much. We hate you. And then I would say, raise your hand if you'd like to have free liposuction this week. And very few hands go up.
Yeah.
And I said, there's the market. And then presenting this to various people early on with Zeltique and in particular Coolsculpting and all. So you have the elites. You have 4 then, right? 2 and 2, and there's, as you know, of course, but some of you don't know. There are 2 heads on each one, so you can actually do 4 areas with your 2 machines.
Yep.
And I hear that recently you were acquired. Is that true?
Yeah.
And who acquired you?
So they're a company out of Canada called Medspa Partners.
Okay.
So something that immediately attracted us to them. You know, I think in this world of acquisition, everyone's talking about numbers. Numbers are the same. No one's going to give you a 20 times multiple if the market's giving 8. And no one's going to give you a 2 times multiple if the market's giving you 8. So it really comes down to the people and that partnership and what you want your life to look like after that. And they are our people and they're phenomenal. And it's been a really, really fun ride, and we're just excited about what we can do with them, for them, and then also continuing to grow the Bodify brand.
That's great. Now, are you going to keep the Bodify brand?
100%.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really attracted us to MSP, is that they were not going to change us. They like to acquire practices that are well run, that have a good, strong brand, and they just really don't touch them or just support them if they need support.
Are they doing things like back office support or marketing or HR?
Not for us, but yes, they do offer that. So it wasn't something we wanted.
Do you own part of the company? Did you
Yes.
take part of your payoff as equity?
Yes, of course.
Well, just asking. Yeah. So you had a cash payment and an equity payment. I'm not going to ask you how much, don't worry.
20 billion. No, just kidding. You're like, why are
Only 20?
you here? Yeah.
Only 20? Okay. But you're still going to stay and run it.
Yeah, I think Melissa and I have always been very forward looking, and one of the things we thought is in this moment we were not ready to be done with Bodify. But if I push that out 10 years and then I sell to someone and they want me to stay on for 5, well, now I'm having to stay in an organization that maybe I don't want to be with anymore. And so we felt, hey, if we get acquired now, the next 7, 10, 12 years, this is still where we want to be.
Right.
And so it was going to be a much easier deal to make with someone than, oh, buy us and we're, quote, the secret sauce and good luck, we're piecing out. That's really hard. Like, you're very hard to replicate, right?
Uh-huh.
And so someone who, if they bought you, would want you to stay.
Right. Okay. Now, are you going to replicate Bodify across the country or regions?
I think that's definitely the plan.
With the name Bodify?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we hope so.
Wonderful. And are they going to help you? That's my point.
Yeah.
With their backing and all?
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons now is a good time to be acquired, is because, there's 2 of us, we have 2 locations, but growing, we just felt like having the extra support, the extra financial capital behind it was going to help us a lot more.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So you guys clearly are a unicorn here. It's very unique. You specialize in one thing. You've grown to be one of the largest practices in the country, if not the largest. You've sold and so forth. You must have some secret sauce, some special things that you're doing that make you successful. What is the advice, if you can share it? What advice do you have for other practitioners around the country?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that we did very intentionally. And first and foremost, you have to know who your client is. And we knew very early on that people who do Coolsculpting, 50% have never done an aesthetic procedure before. They are not willing to see your ad, go to your website, look at a billboard, call you and book a consultation because they're fearful. They feel shame about their body. And so we knew we had to get them into our sphere and have some type of CRM that was going to educate them, nurture them, demystify, highlight who we are, how we are different, and why they needed to come to us. And I just believe most companies just care about leads, but they don't look at that entire journey and that continuum to say, how can I be on that journey to make sure that they choose us? And that is something we did exceptionally well.
Can you please tell the watchers and listeners what a CRM is?
That's great. I actually never know what it stands for. It's like customer relationship management.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you got
it's
it.
managing the funnel, right? We're spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month to get leads. And if you literally reach out to that lead one time and then you leave them alone, like, you're flushing that money down the drain. And so anybody that comes into Bodify's CRM, they're getting reached out to 10, 15, 20 times, as an education, we're here as a resource for you. We're leading them down the path to educate them about Coolsculpting, but we're not giving up on that lead. And people always say, I need more leads, I need more leads. Well, the reality is they need to do better with the leads that they have.
Okay, I couldn't agree with you more. That's number one.
I think the second piece was the USP, or the unique selling proposition, right? There's a lot of people that offer Coolsculpting. There's a lot of people that offer aesthetics. People want the decision to be easy, and they want a company to make that decision for them. And if everybody's the same, all you can compete on is price. And so we knew very, very clearly we need to know who we are, how we're different, and then connect the dot for the end consumer so they know why it's important, and not choosing subjective things like we're the best, we're the nicest, you're going to have a great experience, but hard, concrete facts that people say, whoa, that's a differentiating factor, and that's where I want to be. Anybody who calls, texts, or emails Bodify will have a palpably different experience with us than anybody else, and that makes the decision easy to walk through our doors.
Okay, excellent. That's number 2. Any other words of advice?
Experience?
I think the client experience. I mean, you walk into places these days, a restaurant or, a store to buy clothing, and they don't even acknowledge you. There's like no, coming from the Four Seasons hotel chain that I worked at, I mean, that experience was everything. People can go to a Motel 6 or they can go to a Four Seasons. It has a bed, it has a toilet, it has a TV, but why do they go to the Four Seasons, right? It's that experience. People want to pay for this luxury experience. And so, asking them if they want coffee, tea, or water before they arrive and having it ready for them when they come in, writing thank you notes to say thank you for coming in. We have man cave cups. We modeled after you. You had Manland. We have a man cave budget. We have a thank you budget. Anybody that comes in, we can send them a gift after they come in, and up to $50 on Amazon or whatever it is. We tell our staff, like, hey, they have something that they're interested in, send it off to them.
And that's so important for us because in theory with Coolsculpting, you do your 2, 3, 4 treatments and you're happy. And so we are constantly having to be a marketing machine, but what we've also realized is if we build that rapport and that credibility with our clients, we can get them to come back and do different areas. We can get them to send in referrals and write reviews. And so often people are so concerned about the new leads and turning that lead into money, where for us, 40% of our business comes from existing clients. And now all of a sudden we don't have that, acquisition cost, and we can do different things for them. And so it just has been a beautiful pairing for our business. And I think that, and then lastly, our beautiful results promise, guaranteeing Coolsculpting was something that blew people away. We certainly don't advise people who are new, are not well versed in Coolsculpting to offer that, but it's a ridiculously consistent and predictable technology as long as you treat the right patients, set proper expectations, and build the right treatment plan, and don't let people do half their plan. People will spend the money. They're deathly afraid of investing in one more thing that doesn't work. And we have found over and over again that because of that guarantee, people are willing to pay a higher price, not only because of the experience, but because of the guarantee.
So if a client comes in and she or he says, I didn't get the result you and I agreed on, what do you do?
Yeah,
Retreat them?
I think you nailed it on the head. So first and foremost, there have to be lots of parameters. So I love that you said we didn't get the results we agreed on, because some people are like, well, what if they're not happy? What if they're not satisfied? It is not a happiness guarantee. Everybody wants more fat gone. So we have very clear parameters about what we are going to achieve for that client, showing them dozens of photos of people who look like them and are doing the same treatment, so we can set that clear expectation. And yes, if they come in and we decide that they did not get the anticipated result and they've still maintained their weight and done their part, of course we're going to retreat them. It's the right thing to do. But if I have a really low cycle price, I can't do that. But because we want a higher cycle price and a bigger investment, we have room to do what's right for our clients.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy to hear your story. I noticed you had a crystal ball when you came in.
I do.
Why don't you look at that crystal ball and tell me what I'm going to see in 1, 3, and 5 years in the aesthetic space, and if you want, non-surgical body contouring.
Yeah, I don't think fat's going away, right?
Right.
Everybody has something that they want to get rid of, and especially I think millennials. We are seeing so many millennials that are living back at home with their family, and they're spending more money on luxury goods, and that's definitely an area that I think will grow with Coolsculpting especially.
Okay, so you think the millennial group is going to spike. How about you? What do you see in the future?
I think financing is so interesting. I was watching a history film on the credit card and how everyone had this, perception that if you had to have a credit card that you were broke and you couldn't afford things, and how they, Diners Club had really transitioned that and got it to be something that was normalized. And I think more and more it is so important to offer financing and utilize it, scream it from the mountaintops. And we are personally finding that even our clients coming in who could easily write that $10,000 check, they're wanting to utilize financing. And so I think for me, that's just going to become a bigger and bigger part of practice's success.
I totally agree. I don't know if you know my financing experience and subscription experience, but I totally agree with you. I happen to be very fond of Patient Fi. Yeah. I'm not sure if you're using that. I hope you are, and if not, I'd like to talk to you about it after the show. And also, as now Patient Fi has a wonderful subscription program called, what is it called now?
It's under wraps. You can't say it yet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Privy, that's it, all capital, Privi.
Oh, wow.
And we had Todd on the program, and I know Todd Watts very well. As you know, he's the co-founder of PatientFi. Mm-hmm. And that subscription package is really great for the business owner also, as well as the patient. And when we did it with another subscription company that's been acquired, so I'm not going to mention them, we have the hard data to show increased consumption. It really facilitates a better experience for the patient or client, customer, and also it's better for the office. And the nice thing about the way Privy's run is you get paid within 24 hours, the whole amount.
Right.
So if it's 10,000, you get the full 10,000, and they chase the patient or whatever arrangement they make. And it can be even a zero financing. If now we're switching to financing, there's all sorts of ways that PatientFi can do this. And I found when we do it, we use more cycles. And that's the final analysis, really. A happier patient and a happier, if you will, business person like yourselves. Well, it's been very fun. Anything else you want to tell your adoring fans? Or it's a great model. I love it. You had a great quote, something about if you give it to us again about specializing in things.
Niches lead to riches.
There you go. Niches lead to riches. I'm going to use that. I've never heard that before.
Love it. Thank you, Stephen. He was the one that taught me that.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. I love it. Okay. If there's nothing else, I want to wish you well. Thank you for coming, and have a safe trip back to Arizona. You going to stay here for a while and enjoy Manhattan Beach, I hope?
Beach and dinner.
Beach walk.
Yeah. Wine, you know.
Good. Do you have reservations already?
No, let us know where to go.
I will, for sure. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today and learning about Bodify, a unique way, a unique approach to aesthetic medicine and body contouring. And these two entrepreneurs, beautiful entrepreneurs. You got to be proud of them. I certainly am. Congratulations. See you next Tuesday.